fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. Our campaign is Beyond the Mountains of Madness, and we are about to begin episode 10. It was written by Janice Hill and Charles Engen, along with others who are listed in the credits. Our GM for this campaign is Sean Little, and for this episode, I will be giving the recap as Dr. Lindenbrook. But before we begin, one of our favorite players, Simon Ward, has found it necessary to move back to England. As a result, it may be some time before he rejoins us. We'll miss him. But we all look forward to his eventual return. Simon, we wish you the very best of luck. Come back to us soon. Okay, folks, the players are ready. Let's begin our journey into the darkness. When I was a lad of 12, I was introduced to the mystery novel. I've been hooked ever since, but all those stories end with Hercule Poirot or Ellery Queen piecing together the evidence to show how theirs is the only explanation that fits all the facts. I must keep reminding myself that I am not a true detective and that my skills are more imaginary than real. Still, I can't help but think that maybe Adam Henning is an innocent man. Can we in good conscience just drop the matter? I hope the authorities take into account that he may have been framed. Who am I kidding? The police have their man. Whether he is the actual saboteur or a scapegoat probably doesn't matter much to them. It's more important that everyone think that they did their job in apprehending a criminal. So here we sit, docked in Melbourne, Australia for a few days anyway. The date is October 11th, 1933. We're in the process of replenishing the supplies we lost. Captain Sugden has put together a whole crew of people to manufacture more pemmican. God, I hope he makes it taste better than that shit that we've been eating. It's funny how easily everyone falls back into comfortable ways of thinking when they think that the danger is past. Well, I may not be a detective, but I think the danger's only just begun. Sean?
All right. Okay, everyone. Outside of game, very briefly, you've been called to a meeting in the officers' mess. Non-officers, non-expedition members are sort of standing outside in the hallway listening, and you were told that the head radio man for the ship has passed away.
Oh my God.
It was very sudden the evening before. It's due to natural causes as far as the ship's doctor, including Dr. Hawk as well, can tell. But they bring Sparky up in front of you and say, Sparky has volunteered to take over as the lead ship's radioman for now. If the situation changes and he's able to train up the other personnel, other technicians to take on the job after we've landed in Antarctica, then he will rejoin the expedition. But we're very happy with him volunteering this. And Sparky speaks up and says he wasn't so keen on getting cold anyways. So Sparky's out of the expedition temporarily, but we're very happy to have him helping us out with this poor situation, and that the body of the deceased will be shipped back to the United States for his family to deal with. And he brings forward a gentleman before you, Mr. Coppard, and says, "This is my older cousin, distant cousin, but cousin nonetheless. And through happenstance, he was in Australia, and he showed an interest in taking part in the expedition. So I'd like you to introduce yourself, Mr. Coppard, and just tell everyone a little bit about yourself and why you want to be with us on this wonderful voyage and expedition to come."
Thank you, James. I'm Gregory Coppard. As he said, I am his older cousin. I've traveled the world. My main interests are in the Far East and the occult skills, yoga, meditation, live in Los Angeles. I promised him I wouldn't tell how his parents dressed him like a small girl when he was growing up. But that's another story for another time. I'm happy to be here. James reached out to me, thought I'd be an asset to the expedition, and I'm at your service.
Okay, thank you very much. And that story better not be spoken around the mess hall this evening, as far as I'm concerned.
I have a question. Are we going to have classes in yoga?
If you desire.
Cool.
Got lots of time. Sounds like a good plan. You put your skills to use. And he snickers to himself, whispers something to Mr. Moore. Oh, yoga. Little laughs a bit. He has respect for you as his older cousin, but he's not one for occult or mysticism and that. So it doesn't come across as a negative thing at all. So anyway, just he gives a little bit of a recap on everyone's work last week to say that the missing materials have been, if not located, they're in the process of being transported to the ship. He emphasizes that the police are wishing the ship and the crew to stay in dock a little longer than he expects. He's hoping to have the expedition out and gone in 5 days. So, Mr. Sugden, could you give an update on the food situation with the issue that you've solved for us?
Well, I've managed to recruit some workers. I was given a 3-day forecast to produce the pemmican by the chap at the Peach Cannery. How long has it been since that happened in game? Has it been 1 day? I think
it's the next day. Yes.
It's the next
today.
day. So
this is the morning of the next day.
So we're on track. We've got another 2 days, and then it's going to be delivered here. But I'll scoot over there today and check that everything's running to schedule.
Yes, please do. And there are lots of little bits and pieces of work for everyone to do, as you know. So please avail yourself of the local friendly local situation in the town here in Melbourne. It might not look like much from the ship, but certainly they have many shops and many things that you could purchase. Let's just say you're going to need some books. It's a long voyage. So please, everyone, do your work. Work hard during the day, and try not to entertain yourselves too hard during the evenings, because we do have a long voyage ahead of us in a few days. So with that, breakfast is served. And yes.
Can I ask what our projected date of arrival should be?
That is a tricky question, because it all depends on the pack ice.
Oh.
As you know, the weather right now, it's clear. We're in Australia. We're in the port of Melbourne. Calm and clear, nothing in the skies whatsoever. We could be mid November before we get to land, only because we do not know how much pack ice. We're leaving the time of year we're leaving is spring, which means pack ice is breaking up. If it breaks up quickly and soon, we'll have to skirt around the icebergs. If it doesn't break up as quickly as we'd like, we may have trouble finding land. But we're hoping for the best. We think it will work out well for us. And I would say mid-November is our shooting date. So 15th of November at the latest, hoping for. Maybe we'll be even a week or two early.
Outstanding. Thank you.
All right. And thank you to everyone for their work yesterday, organizing. So I just leave you to your breakfast and your discussions and the work at hand. And with that, Mr. Moore, Mr. Starkweather leave the room, and he pats his cousin on the shoulder, and away we go.
Oh, thank God. I'm so glad that we're not eating pemmican this morning. Mr. Coppard, is it?
Yes, sir.
Come over and join us. You missed all the fun. We've been eating pemmican for the last, oh my God, I don't know how long. Weeks.
Sorry to hear that.
Thanks for the refrigerator blowing out.
I've heard it's been an adventure so far, to say the least. when my cousin telegrammed me and asked me to meet him in Melbourne. I was on a 1-year silent retreat in Tibet. He thought that my unusual skills and talents could be used on this. I'm not really sure why, but I remain hopeful, and I hope I can be of service.
You'll have to tell us all sorts of interesting stories about the Himalayas.
And the power of the mind.
Well, the mountains.
Mr. Starkweather comes back in and he says, sorry to interrupt everyone's breakfast. I know I only left you a moment ago. Please take your time and finish your food. But in 1 hour, the constabulary is going to be coming by, and they would like to take depositions from anyone who was in the hold. You know what I mean, let's just say. So in 1 hour, the police will be here, and they would like you to travel with them down to the constabulary for questioning.
So, gentlemen, do you feel comfortable with this Adam Henning being charged with sabotage?
Well, I still can't escape the nagging suspicion that he might have been set up, and that the saboteur may still be at large. I don't think we should let our guard down at all.
Well, I'm hoping that this sounds awful, but if the saboteur is going to strike again, I hope that he strikes before we're too far away from Melbourne so that we can phone them back and say, or wire them back and say, let that guy go. He's not the one.
Well, my hope is that it's someone who's been put up to it by another expedition or someone with a personal grudge, because that way at least they've got some interest in their own safety. I mean, if it's just some sort of madman who is prepared to take himself down with the ship, then we're really sunk, quite literally, perhaps.
You know what? I was thinking about that the other day while I was eating my pemmican and how nasty it tastes. We've assumed, at least in part, that the sabotage was caused by somebody from another expedition. But I keep wondering about the previous survivors. They supposedly came out of this quite nuts. Wouldn't it stand to reason more that one of them may be involved? Where are they right now? Did we ever find that out? Are they locked up somewhere? That would be a reassurance.
I don't know. I was laid up with food poisoning while you were looking for them.
I thought I had written down their names.
I did give you that.
Yeah, well, outside of the game, you had us read the book first, so I was thinking. Dyer? Was it Dyer?
Dyer, yes.
Dyer.
And Lake
was the other one. Okay, Dyer and Lake. Yeah, I mean, we never really investigated those two. Of course, it's too late now.
Lake is dead.
Lake is dead. Okay, Lake is dead. And Dyer is the one who has been already warning everybody not to go. So,
what about the crazy German guy?
Well, that's the weird thing. Who's the crazy German guy?
I've got a feeling he was set up, for all this stuff to be going on the ship. I don't know, my gut's saying more than one person, but maybe with him being arrested right now, whoever's done all this stuff, maybe just might stop them from doing anything for a little bit. I think at least all the crews on edge, people are going to be a little more observant.
Well, maybe the best course of action is for us to continue on as if everything has been taken care of, but keep our eyes open for something suspicious.
I think that's a very good course of action.
And we do still know that it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 possible names that were given to us. So it's not like we have to mistrust the entire ship now either.
Right. What were we thinking? I'm sorry, Gregory, if some of this is completely... we had a saboteur aboard the ship, and we were doing our own little investigation, trying to find out who it was. As it turns out, one of the mess boys, Adam Henning, a bunch of evidence to indicate that he was the one was found in his cabin, rather conveniently. And so we're incredulous as to whether it was actually him or not.
You think you're incredulous? I've been on the boat 5 minutes and we already have a crime unfolding.
Well, we've had a crime. As far as the police are concerned, it's over. And I'm afraid that as far as your cousin, it may be over too, but I'm not so sure that it's over yet.
He does sometimes rush to judgment. It's a family trait, I'm afraid.
Well, unfortunately, our prime suspects, if it wasn't, in fact, Mr. Henning, would be the first officer, Paul Turlow, or the shopkeeper, Thomas Price. We met Price, didn't we? Price was kind of a nice guy. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess that doesn't mean anything, does it?
Appearances can be deceiving.
And the chief steward, who oddly enough is named Judas. Why his mama named him Judas, I cannot fathom. In any case, if it's Turlow, we're kind of screwed. I don't know how we could ever convince the captain that his first officer is a saboteur. Why would he sabotage his own ship? Why would he jeopardize his own crew? I can't imagine that. Now, the shopkeeper, he had access to every single place that we were, including, if I recall, the refrigerator. Is that correct, GM?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes. See, that was our big clue, Gregory, was that the refrigerator was sabotaged, and the only couple of people who had any access to that fridge, he was one of them. Of course, Adam Henning was one of them. I don't know. Guys, I just don't know.
So how many days do we have before we leave?
This is day 2, and the assumption is there are 3 days to manufacture and package the pemmican and freeze it, because you have to freeze it. And based on the investigation or the other materials that have to be gathered, another potential day, that gives you 4. And the assumption is the police are going to drag things out. That's what Mr. Starkweather thinks. So he's saying hopefully 5. So on day 5, you should be leaving. And it is day 2 right now.
Okay.
What would today's date be then? Sorry.
The 12th?
The 12th.
Oh.
Of October.
Of October. Yes.
Of course, that's spring. South, yeah. Australia.
So that means we would be shoving off around the 17th.
That's the projected plan right now.
After we talk to the police, do any of you really want to go and talk to this Mr. Henning, see if we can find out why he did it, or if he did it? Is he denying that he said it? I don't know. See, we don't know all the details. So
for peace of mind, we could talk to him. Like if the police let us talk to him. I think we might feel pretty stupid if we find out that it wasn't him.
Well, I think a lot of that's going to be whether his lawyer lets you talk to him or not. I mean, there's a precedence for lawyer-client privilege, and 5 shipmates just walking in off the street to say that we want to talk to him, whether you're expedition members or not, he's still allowed due process, and he really doesn't have to talk to you.
Yeah, and the fact is, we don't even know how different, British law, American law, or Australian law, how does this handle it? Because technically he got on with us in Boston.
Mm-hmm. Well, the assumption here is that he'll be extradited to the States, I believe.
That would make sense. So, does he have a lawyer? I mean, that's...
In the States, there's one court appointed, right?
Yeah, I mean, there would be. But while he's being held here in Melbourne, maybe we can get access.
Under British law, he'd get one. Under British law, you're aware that he'd also be appointed a lawyer.
Okay.
You get a duty solicitor.
Even if he's not going to be tried or convicted here?
Yep. If he's required to give a statement, or if he's held under charge, then he'll be given a duty solicitor.
Okay, well, we'll see. It doesn't hurt to ask, I suppose.
So you're talking for a little while about a lot of things. So sorry, Jeff, did you have something? Oh, sorry, Elmer, did you have something?
I was just going to mention real quick that we might also want to consider that if we approach this guy while he's in jail, that might shed or put us in a bad light with the rest of the ship. As if we're trying to communicate with the guy that was sabotaging, and you know what I mean?
Well, unless we find out that he's innocent, and then that'll put us in a very good light with the crew since we saved one of theirs.
Yeah.
From being... I'm just terrified that if he's innocent, he may still end up in prison for the rest of his life.
Well, we are, to some degree, we have to trust that the police know what they're doing.
Do you think Starkweather's going to go and have maybe a one-on-one with him or something like that? Because
gotta be.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were asking me.
There's got to be some way to find out something, because does he have conspirators, collaborators? The safety of the mission depends on it. But maybe you're right. Maybe we should just trust that they know what they're doing, because we're not qualified. Like Sparky said, we're not qualified.
Well, has someone at least checked the ship over for explosive devices? I mean, we know he was building a bomb.
Well,
Is it still down there?
Mm-hmm.
I think the question here is, where do you want your focus to be? Do you want it to be on the future and on a safe trip and on a ship that is safe? Or do you want to dwell in the past and worry about his innocence or his guilt, when we really should be focusing on the job at hand, which is a successful expedition?
If we don't establish his guilt, then there still remains the spectre of a potential saboteur still being at large, which could endanger the mission.
I'm not sure that I could completely focus on my job, even though I've trained for it my whole life, if I think that some poor innocent guy is suffering because of something that we did or I did.
Conversely, if we establish that he is guilty,
Yeah, then I won't have any problem with it at all.
Then we can just get on with everything, can't we?
Then I'll just say, yep, fine.
Well, you're talking
they're not gonna kill this man. They're just gonna lock him up.
Sorry, Mr. Moore. I'm sorry, you guys are talking. Mr. Moore has come in, and he says, fellas, the constabulary are here now. I know you notice now you've been talking, and the room's kind of cleared out of most people who've gone off to do their duties and such. He says, if you guys could come down to the cars now, we could get this over out of the way quickly.
Sure, of course.
So Gregory, you'll have to find something to do, and Mr. Starkweather certainly has a long list of little duties for everyone.
I'll get settled in and, go to my room and make sure that's all taken care of, and then I'll reach out to my cousin and see where he needs my help most. No worries.
Very nice to meet you, Mr. Coppers.
It was a pleasure to meet all of you.
Gregory, just so you know, Tuesday night tacos are usually in the radio room, so you're welcome to join us.
I think that.
All right, so
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. The police are kind of waiting here. They want to get this over with. They have a car on the dock waiting for you. They've got room for the four of you, and as well as Sparky. Sparky's going as well. And very quickly, they take you to the nearby police station. The usual, there's a room outside where you sit in chairs, separated by a few feet, and there's a police officer at a desk there doing paperwork, whatever he happens to be doing. Does request that you not speak to each other during reviews. Just, they don't want you to make up stories before you go in there.
Okay.
Make sure you have the same stories. First person to go in is Sparky. He's in there for a while. He comes out, smiles, says, well, I'm off, fellas, back to the ship. Have a good day. And rolls his eyes at, slight disdain for the police state that he envisions. And the next up is Mr. Hawk, Dr. Hawk, rather. So he asks you to come in the room, please. If you want a coffee or tea, there's coffee and tea right there. Grab some on the way.
Coffee. Okay, grab a coffee, go in.
All right. Have a seat, please. And he shuts the door after you come in. He says, got a few questions for you here. And he says, my name is Detective Murray, Bruce Murray. So please, from what I gather, Mr. Starkweather asked you people to investigate, I guess, what you would call a series of possible sabotages.
Yes.
At the ship. What exactly led to Mr. Henning being brought to our attention? In your eyes, in your opinion, what? Not in specific details. What were you people doing on behalf of Mr. Starkweather?
We were checking. I know we were checking like all possible angles. We did find a bomb. I tell them everything that happened, with the dogs. I just basically give them the whole background of how we were searching for things and everything like that. So,
strychnine poisoning the dogs. What kind of a monster would do that?
Yeah. So,
and you're a doctor. You know all about poisons.
Yes.
And such. Why would strychnine be on a ship?
I believe for rats.
Possible. I guess there's lots of rats on ships. You're right. This is a port town. That makes sense. I guess. And how did the strychnine get to the dogs? Did you figure that? Did you? How did you determine how that happened?
It was put in the dog's food. Again, we don't know how or. Again.
And you were one of the doctors diagnosing strychnine poisoning?
Yes.
Okay. And so he goes over you what the symptoms are, and you give them back to him and such.
Yeah. I'm talking to one of the dogs.
Gosh. And what happened in the hold? Like, what were you... What else? What other damage was done? Like what other things happened that led people to think it was sabotage? I know it's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Throws you off a bit. Yeah. Do you want to do an idea roll?
The radio, yes. Because I believe the radios were damaged as well. Total fail, 83.
You're having a hard time remembering. He says, okay, well, okay. I know it's being brought in like this. It's kind of disconcerting. Tell me about the hole. Who found, or what was found in the hole? The whole search on for this person.
The bomb.
Okay. Now, was it a completed bomb? Was it all like ready to go, or what was found?
The bomb was ready to go, like it was. So.
Oh. Well, it's a good thing you guys worked together and got this. Who did the arrest? Were you guys involved in finding the person, or what did you do? Were any of you involved in capturing this Mr. Henning?
But you know what? I was going to say how to work again. We sort of, actually, we narrowed it down. We talked to him. Actually, we told Starkweather more about it.
Okay. And you weren't involved in searching the rooms or anything like that.
No.
Like the rooms of sleeping that the crew were sleeping in.
But you know what? We did split up and search parts of the ship as well. So.
Okay. All right. Well, he gives you a form that you have to fill out, like on a clipboard, the usual. He says, "Please take this out into the hallway on the other side of the constable's desk. There's a little desk set aside for you to work on. If you could please fill it out and just write what you can remember as a statement and have that together for us by the end of today's sessions, if that's okay."
Okay.
All right. So he ushers you out, and Elmer, you're next.
Lawyer.
You hear me now, right? Lawyer. What?
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, these guys are very friendly. They're meticulous,
That's
procedural,
exactly why you need a lawyer.
but they do emphasize we aren't considering you guys anything what you Americans would call suspects right now. We just want to get the straight facts so we can put it together for our paperwork before we send this Mr. Henning back to the States on another ship. So,
yeah,
could you tell me about the investigation? This investigation Mr. Starkweather sent you guys on.
Yeah. You'll have to bear with me because it was over a period of days. So all the facts and all kind of blurring together right now. But
sure.
Yeah, basically we found what we pretty much concluded as evidence that somebody was trying to sabotage our mission, sabotage the boat. And when it got to it, at first it seemed rather, I don't know, it wasn't life-threatening per se. I mean, it could have been were we to get out on our expedition, were we out on the snow and the ice.
Yeah.
But while on board, it wasn't immediately threatening our lives while on the ship until we discovered the makings of the bomb. And that's when it escalated to the next level.
So tell me about the refrigeration unit being damaged, all the food being destroyed. How did that happen?
I don't remember who gave us the list, but we came up with a list of about 6 people that we determined had access to that area. Beyond that, I don't know how they did it. I don't know when they did it. I don't know how long they were planning on doing it.
And what did they do? What happened to the food?
If I remember correctly, the refrigeration unit was just damaged and broken. And then that caused a bunch of the food to spoil.
And it wasn't just something broke down. on the way?
I don't think so. I think we...
Do you want to do an idea roll?
Yeah, I can't remember. 47? That's a pass.
It was an acid. The acid that you remember. Wait, it was acid. It was acid that would damage
Acid,
the
yeah.
refrigerant.
It was sprinkled on the refrigeration lines, right?
All right. He said, "Oh, okay, all right." So as long as it wasn't, so it's not something that just broke down. That's what we're trying to say for our paperwork. These aren't things that people mistook for sabotage.
Correct. And the same with the radios. I think to me that was the telltale, because there were strategic pieces of the radios missing and damaged also with acid. So somebody was specifically targeting this.
Okay. All right. Well, look, I have a clipboard here. Paperwork. If you could write a statement, what you can remember from the beginning to the end since you got on the ship, anything related to this purported sabotage, and right up to Mr. Henning being arrested. Now, were you involved in the arrest of Mr. Henning, or the capture of Mr. Henning, as Mr. Starkweather put it?
No, I don't think any of us were, if memory serves. They separated us up on this ship, and then they searched the cabins, and then they came out basically saying Adam was the one that did it.
And who are they? Who are the ones that said this?
Yeah, I don't fully know. I think Judas Whitney was the person that announced that. I could be wrong. And I have to tell you that we're all... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go right ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say we are still a little suspicious of that, because Judas Whitney was on that list of people that had access. So if he were to frame somebody, he would be in a position to do that.
Oh, frame somebody. Why would you think anyone would want to sabotage the ship, I might ask?
Back in New York, we were getting threats to not go on this expedition. And there were people killed back in New York City, like the original captain. So I do believe somebody was seriously trying to prevent this whole thing from happening.
Interesting. Well, if you could add that to your statement as well, I mean, whatever you can remember to help support this. So for us to extradite this fellow to the United States, we have to make sure that he's the right fellow to be sent away.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want you guys leaving here if he's not the right person.
Are you able to tell me how is Adam denying any of this? Is he?
Well, I'm not really supposed to discuss, but I'll tell you this: Mr. Henning doesn't really want to say anything to us. He's staying quiet. He's not asking for legal representation. He's not denying anything. And he's not making any statements.
Did he put up any sort of a fight when you guys got him?
He fought. He fought. He's not a superhuman strength fella, but he's certainly blackened a few eyes, let's say.
Okay.
Well, here's the clipboard. If you could go out and fill this out, and just and he asks you to send in someone else, but we don't have to go through the other two. It goes much the same for everyone. They're asking questions. Some of them are a little leading. They're doing the usual, trying different angles to make sure that everyone's story matches, and they take your statements at the end, and they put you back. It takes about until after lunchtime. They apologize for how much time it takes, but they're very slow. And even to get you to leave, there's more paperwork to fill out, more procedural. This person has to know, and this person has to give approval for you to leave. and they do give you a drive back to the ship. So come around 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you're back.
While we're there, am I able to ask them, is there any chance that we can speak directly, or I can speak directly to Mr. Henning? You say he hasn't asked for legal representation. Is there? I'd like to try to find out why he did this.
Oh, you're not a lawyer too, are you, Dr. Linderbook?
No, I'm not. I'm just
he laughs.
I have a personal interest in the whole thing.
Yeah, he says, I'm just making a joke with you. No, we can't. I mean, the way we're set up, he's under suspicion of a number of crimes right now, and we can't allow a member of the public in to talk to them unless they're a family member or a lawyer. It's just the way things are. He hasn't officially been charged yet either, so that we hope to do that by the end of tomorrow, today, probably.
Well, if he has not officially been charged, why can't I go in and speak to him?
Things might be a little different in America, Mr. Lindenbrook. Dr. Lindenbrook, I'm sorry.
Listen, if he is the saboteur, then I think that he should be prosecuted. I think justice should be served. But I think that you've got to make sure that he's the saboteur, because there would have been a number of opportunities for the real saboteur to set him up. And we don't have the expertise to know the difference.
Well, that's our job to do, and I guarantee you we're concerned about that as well. Right. We don't want the ship to sail if the ship is sailing with the actual person on board that is actually causing these things to happen.
Well, I make sure that he has a list of the 6 people with the possibility of doing it, and also the motivation is that we think there's a crazy nut person who probably associated with the captain who originally went there, trying to stop us from going. That's what the sabotage is all about.
Okay, well that's good. He says thank you. He thanks you very much for offering to provide that. He wants it on the he gives you multiple pages for your statement. I mean, there's lots of room for you to write whatever you like.
Okay.
Mr. Sugden, Captain Sugden, is there anything you would like to add or ask of the police officers before they send you back to the ship?
Well, I'll acquaint him with my my findings with regard to the explosive device we found from a professional military perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But it was
I appreciate that.
And a rather amateurish contraption. And I'll mention that we were initially given the list of people who had access to the freezer area by Coates, one of the mess crew. He's been on the ship for some time.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
3 years he's served on the ship.
I would have also mentioned that it was the first officer, Paul Turlow, who conducted the investigation, and he was also a suspect.
Very interesting. Well, now that he's spoken to each of you individually, you're all in the room together. There's no one else in the room but the other constable. He says, all right, fellas, I've got all your statements. I've got all your information. You're interesting me with this business of possibly this Mr. Henning might not be the guy we're looking for. And they seem to all have this suspicion, and so did Sparky. Well, I mean, he's innocent until proven guilty. Let's just say that. And so far, the evidence that was spoken of, provided to us, pushes in that direction of charges. But we're going to investigate these leads you've given us to see to verify he's the right person.
We also tell him that if any sabotage occurs after this point, we will make it an absolute point to contact them and say, hey, he's probably not the guy.
Well, your radio man who was in first, he has been provided with the direct radio frequencies and call signs for the local town high power radio station that we use for broadcasting it to other stations in the outback and such.
Excellent.
So there shouldn't be a problem getting word back to us if there's a problem.
Cool. All right.
And hopefully there isn't. So he thanks you all for your trouble and provides you with a car back to town. And if you want some sandwiches or coffee on the way, go ahead. You're probably a little late for grabbing lunch on the ship.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, so you arrive back at the ship, and the day proceeds, unless there's something to do. Mr. Starkweather's there, however, and he says, "How did things go, fellas? How did things go?"
As well as can be expected.
All right, so Mr. Henning's, he's the guy, right? Henning is the guy. We're not going to have any more trouble.
There's no way of telling that for sure, but let's leave that up to the police to figure out.
Well, of course. We certainly wouldn't want to do the job of the police.
If, Mr. Starkweather, we do have further sabotage, I think that we need to contact the Melbourne police and tell them we probably have the wrong guy. Hopefully that won't happen.
Well, if you look at the map right here, and he points at the big map on the wall that has the route penciled in red China pencil, it says, anything happens, it happens in this area. And he shows like a little circle around the Melbourne Harbor. He says, we certainly don't want to be 3/4 of the way to Antarctica and have some more issues happen. I absolutely want to make sure that this is the right fellow.
We theorized that he would have, if he was going to blow the ship, he would have done it here in Melbourne. Because I don't think that he was interested in killing us all. He just wanted to stop the expedition.
And why would he do it in the harbor, do you think?
Because we would probably be all in town or at the bar or whatever. And we could easily get off the ship if it suddenly caught on fire or, as opposed to being out in the middle of the ocean.
Well, if he wanted to make a bomb and had done it in the middle of the ocean before we got here, we would have sunk and died.
Mm-hmm.
I see what you mean.
I don't think that he wanted to. That's actually Sparky's idea.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good thinking, because that makes sense. Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much for taking the time. We have to go make our depositions now.
Okay.
So he and Mr. Moore and a few others are taken in 2 separate cars, and they head off the ship, and everyone is directed to go about their day doing their normal business. Mr. Sugden, of course, is headed back to the pemmican factory.
Put something good in it.
Like rum cake pemmican.
Ooh. Like strawberries.
Strips of wombat.
Well, Mr. Coppert is back with you now. Gregory is, you're all together again. It's having a bit of a late lunch coffee. And Captain Sugden is headed off to the factory. There's a car waiting for him. They're waiting for you to answer some questions about the production.
Okay. Do you have to skin the cats, or did you just leave them with the fur on?
So there's lots of other things going on. We can skip ahead to the evening unless there's something you particularly want to do right now.
I think at this point, I'm just willing to go on. And
let's just skip ahead, unless somebody has a burning issue.
Can I take a moment to stop and get a souvenir to buy a boomerang while in Australia?
Oh, only if you get a didgeridoo to go along with it.
There's going to be 20 of those by the end of the day on the deck of the ship, I'm sure. Those rain sticks. No.
I got one of those
boomerangs.
Yeah.
It's all fun and games till somebody puts an eye out.
Well, that evening, Mr. Starkweather and Moore and the other officers are back from their police depositions. They seem happy and content. And they come around to you guys and they say, the members of the expedition, Melbourne Town Hall, the mayor, city councilors, they've just dropped this on us. There's a dinner tonight. It's an official function, and they want us to go. Could you guys attend?
By all means. Is it dress up? Am I going to have to wear the old soup and fish?
They don't expect that. They go.
Oh, but they're gonna get it.
Can we? Yeah. Can we wear the? What did you call it? The soup and fish?
Soup and fish.
Never heard that term before.
Of course, we'll wear tuxedos. We're not farmers.
We are professors of the university, of course. Mine's a tweed tuxedo.
The hair
It's
shirt.
1930. It's 1933.
There will be flappers. No, that's
So
Along with my
kind
my yogi robes, I have a tuxedo.
1933 is a difficult one, isn't it? Because it's transitional. Would it be black tie or white tie?
I was just going to say, yeah.
You're in
I think
Australia.
white tie is the more
It's the
de rigueur
colonies.
at the time.
Yes, it's the colonies though, isn't it? So it might be more relaxed.
I'm going to wear my
I think you'll
purple
see
suit.
boots with boots.
Yes, I'm going to wear white tie.
Well, it's at 8:00. He says if you could all just get yourselves cleaned up and as ready as best you can, we'll meet down on the docks. We'll have cars waiting for us.
Cool. Absolutely.
Perfect.
At least we'll be
Might
off
as well
the ship
enjoy
when
one
it
more
goes
nice
up.
dinner before we leave. So,
Well, you might want to eat. This is a function, not a dinner. So
Yeah, it's a fun.
Finger food, not a food bag.
yeah. So I assume you all just get yourselves ready to go.
Mhm.
And 8:00 rolls around. There's a number of cars. It's yourselves. Some of the more higher the expedition scientists and such. A few technicians. A few haven't been invited because they're the more rough and tumble. The pilots and Nigel's not too happy. The pilots were not invited. But they say, oh, it's space. It's space. We don't want to have the room filled with our people. We want to have room for everybody. But so the cars arrive. Mr. Starkweather. Mr. Moore is not going to attend. He's not feeling well.
Oh,
But Mr. Starkweather, he's the one who wants to be seen in public. Mr. Moore is very, I've got things to do. I don't want to be in the public eye right now. And as you go down to the cars, there's the paparazzi of the time are there, flashbulb, taking pictures and taking photos of you and asking questions. You get driven to a local community hall. There's tables set up. It looks pretty hastily thrown together. It's almost like they didn't remember you were coming. But there's a banner up, and it says Starkweather Moore Expedition in a year. And town of Melbourne city of Melbourne welcomes you. And there's lots of food, lots of people, and lots of dapper men and women standing around, music playing, party. And yes, you get a key to the city. There's a giant key on a stand. Again, it looks a little hastily put together. It wouldn't open any locks. And it's on a on a display. Plaque the paint is, as you look, it looks like it's still a little wet. But yeah, there's speeches and there are food stuffed little finger foods and there are drinks and lots of members of the public. Canapes, yep. Kangaroo sausage.
Oh.
Everything tastes better with bubbles.
Mm-hmm. So there's lots of schmoozing, lots of speeches. But
Oh yeah. Luckily, vanity and pride run in the family, so I'm just going to be my magnificent self and move through the crowd and, bless them with my presence.
So there's members of the elected officials. There are local university persons there who are very interested to ask you as well as the Stark brothers and their people what you're looking into, what you're going to be doing in Antarctica. And they come up to your table, and this tottering old professor with Dumbledore look about him, let's just say that. And he says, "So, what are you going to Antarctica for, you bunch? It's cold down there."
Yeah.
We're looking for moose.
Besides the mine, it is the last great frontier. It's one of the last unexplored continents. I've been to the mountains of Tibet and the crowded streets of Shanghai, and this is an adventure that we're going on here. Who wouldn't want to do that?
Oof. It's a little too cold for me. I've been around a while. I don't like the cold at all. I don't like the wet.
Well, we're hoping to make some discoveries as far as previous drill team found some very interesting fossil records, and we would like to see what we can find. At least
Tell me about what did they find?
That's what my some sort of marine animals heretofore never seen before. I'm very interested in that, but I'm also interested in. I mean, it's a regular smorgasbord of undiscovered species that I would like to have my name on the back end of a few of them, whatever they may be.
He leans to species. It'll be interesting to see what you do find there.
Indeed.
I heard there was some construction.
Construction? You mean construction?
I heard there was some strange mountain formation.
Yes, I heard that.
Yes, that's exactly what I was talking about. Mountain formations.
Looking forward to having a crack at them one.
Have you ever seen any of the artifacts that came back from the previous expedition, or some of the core samples? I mean, core samples, or any of the. Did anything come back to Miskatonic?
Actually, that's a good question. Have I?
Yes.
Okay.
You've heard of some things, and there's a Mr. Pabodi, I believe his name is, who works at the university, who is actually one of the persons who survived. Doesn't talk about it very much. And this professor, and he says, "I'm Bruce McGilvery, by the way." And he opens up his hand, and in his hand he shows you, Dr. Lindenbrook, a very small gray stone that and has some strange carved runes on it, but you've never seen anything like that. Anything you've ever seen.
And you think this came from Antarctica?
Not at all. This came from the West Indies.
Ah.
But if you look at the symbology, from what I gather, that symbology has been found elsewhere. And he puts it in his pocket.
And you think that the symbol is part of something that was discovered in Antarctica?
I've seen photographs.
Mr. McGilvery, are you one of those people? And I don't mean those people. I just mean there are a number of people who subscribe to the belief that Mr. Edgar Allan Poe's story concerning Arthur Gordon Pym was in fact not fiction.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know of that story. Let's just say there are things in this world that are thought to be fiction that are not, and there are things that are thought to be real that are simply mythology or fiction. And that document of which you speak, I have a feeling it's less fiction than most believe.
Well, you're
Did
not
I
alone.
did
in
I
that.
get a good look at what he was showing Dr. Lindenbrook?
Like you could see it. You can see it.
Now, I've got archaeology. Now, would I recognize it, or would it be something that I'm familiar with, or would it be something that's new to me?
The shape of the object, it's just shapeless rock. It's really an oblong, oval, extended oval rock. But if you want to make a roll with your archaeology, I could tell you if you're familiar with the symbols or at least recognize it.
Oh, that is a extreme success.
Extreme success. You have never seen anything like it before, but there is a similarity in it to something you've seen in sketches from the West Indies.
So he's in the ballpark. He kind of knows what he's talking about. He's not just showing us a rock with crayon on it or something like that. That this is actually legit, and it's something. Does it look old? You know, like if looking at it.
Weathered and old. It looks like something that somebody has kept and rubbed like smooth. It's like a very shiny, very smooth rock, sort of like a river rock, but even smoother, like soapstone smooth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very dark bluish gray, not a rock that. Do you have geology?
Actually,
No, I do not.
Oh, if anyone has geology that could see this.
I've been studying geology on the ship.
Ah,
Hang on a
there
minute.
you go.
Yes, I do. Yes.
Can I roll? I've only got
So
24.
Captain Sugden.
Can I have? I've only got 20. I mean, I'm a mountaineer. I know a little bit about geology as well.
Absolutely.
It's a
I'll
piece
see
of
if-
schist.
You know where to put the spike.
Oh,
That's very nice.
Fine Portuguese schist.
I made a geology joke too.
61. No, that's a fail, I'm afraid. I've never seen anything like it in all my puff.
Did you pass, Dr. Lindenberg?
Oh no, I got a 94.
All right. The best you two can come up with is it's like a blue soapstone.
Some
That's-
kind of rock.
Some kind of a smooth rock, blue soapstone, best you can come up with, and that's not even a thing.
It looks like if you threw it across a pond, it would skip really nicely.
It would skip and probably break it in the rock.
It's a nugget
of purest blue.
I don't want to insult the man, but I say to the others kind of quietly, he probably picked it up in some pawn shop or some touristy shop in the West Indies somewhere.
Queer looking thing. I haven't got a clue what it is.
Well, he pockets it, snickers, and says, "Well, I would say just keep an eye out. Keep an eye out for anything out of the ordinary, because
Well, if we find buildings in a civilization, we'll be sure and document that and bring it back with us." But
I didn't say buildings. I said construction.
construction? Do you mean that somebody's building something there?
No. Just I'm an old man. I have ramblings. My thoughts are all over the place. Just enjoy your expedition. Enjoy your expedition.
Right.
I do make.
Isn't
Right,
there a
plenty of
precedence? Would Chichen Itza and like the Mayan ruins, have we found those yet? Because there's a precedence for structures being found after hundreds, if not thousands of years that, in far corners of the world.
In our last episode, I actually I checked, and Machu Picchu was just found recently.
There you go. Good. So there's a precedent that's been set for that. So I think it may capture our imaginations.
Yeah,
That's hilarious. I actually was able to spell Chichen Itza off the top of my head. Yes, Chichen Itza is absolutely known of. It's written of in the 1800s, so it wasn't found.
Big gigantic pyramid right in the middle of the
Yeah.
Yucatan Peninsula.
Yeah, not like the
It's
Temple of the
almost
Jaguar. So So he just wanders off to Huddles off. He goes, "Have a good time. Stop back anytime."
No, he seemed to think that there's something that we're going to find there other than ice, snow, and maybe some fossils.
His name was Bruce McGilvery, Dr. Bruce McGilvery. Just
Yeah, I got it.
future reference.
Oh, he was a doctor, huh?
Professor.
He knew what he was talking about.
Well, we received an odd note while we were still docked in Boston that mentioned Arthur Gordon Pym, which is that story that I mentioned by Edgar Allan Poe. And in the story, the main character basically goes, I'm not sure if he's on a single ship or if it's different adventures that he goes on, that he gets shipwrecked in one, and ultimately he makes his way to Antarctica, and he describes an island of people. I don't remember all the details. It's been years and years and years since I read the story. But when he finally gets to Antarctica, the story rather abruptly ends, and it leaves the reader completely hanging. I believe Arthur Gordon Pym sees some sort of an angel-like thing in the mist, in the snow and ice, and that's the end of the story. And we don't ever get an explanation for what any of it means, which is why some people think that it's a true story. I, for one, just think that Mr. Poe is a very clever writer. There are a group of people out there who believe that it's true, and I think they're crackpots.
I think we should enjoy ourselves here at this soiree and take advantage of the local color and fauna.
Those kangaroo meat things are delicious. Dr. Sugden, Captain Sugden, did you get any of that meat and put it in our pemmican?
Are we absolutely sure that these are sausages?
I don't know. I know that after I tasted it, I was hopping. So, okay, that joke went over like. I threw one away and it came right back. So it's definitely Australian.
Cue the cricket noise.
Any other interesting people at this party that we talked to?
Well, if you wish to wander, there are members of the public. There's the paparazzi. The reporters are staying back, taking more pictures of festivities and not bothering you. This is new. They've been told by the local politicians, don't annoy people inside. We want this to be, a PR event. There's the politicians, the members of the general public, lots of young people in very fancy dress. Like it's like any excuse for a party in this town is a good one. There are members of the local professors and such.
Well, I'm going to enjoy myself. I've been on the top of a mountain meditating for almost a year, so I think if I'm going to be here, I'm going to take advantage of the situation.
Absolutely.
I speak to any of the scientists who have paleo in front of their thing. Paleobotany, paleos.
I'm going to
Hello, my name is Paleo.
I'm going to regale some ladies of a certain age with tales of my travels.
Let's do that. That sounds like a great idea.
There's no exobiology.
Show them your tattoos.
And
What's
then
that, Dr. Hawk?
down to Mombasa.
Yeah, you know what? I know with my small bit of paranoia that I've gotten from this voyage from the beginning, I'm going to take a walk around the room, just greet people, keep an eye at if anything might look at a place, or if anybody's sort of standing at the back watching. Just
okay.
I don't just kind of entertain myself with being a little paranoid.
Do you want to do a spot hidden then?
Yep. '91.
Everybody looks sketchy.
Do you want a sanity check after that?
No. I just think you don't necessarily see anybody that looks more standoffish than the rest, or someone who just looks wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question. Is Melbourne dry? Or, I mean, it's not the United States, but I know they had a period of temperance similar to the United States, I think.
I do not believe so at this time.
So there's alcohol here. Excellent.
I do believe so, yes. Well, it's actually, yeah, let's just say that drinking was spoken of in the rules. Yes. It's not a temperate. It's a temperate place, but not.
All right.
You can have drinks.
Excellent.
Elmer will
So the
be
speech is
cutting a rug.
Yep. There's dancing. There is
posing for photos.
Oh, I was going to say, I hope there's dancing, Elmer.
Yeah. I was expecting the photos.
If there's alcohol, there's going to be dancing, whether there's music or not.
There's music and dancing, and there are intermittent speeches, and there is food, and there are definitely people wanting to take photographs, but they're not bothering you. But if you're volunteering, they'll do
I
it.
keep forgetting about Charlene, too, so she's probably...
She's with Mr. Starkweather.
I'm starting to wonder if they're, like, becoming a couple or anything like that.
Oh, he's definitely not close to... He's talking to her. He's protecting her. He's showing her off as, look, we have a woman on our expedition. And she's eating it up, and so are the paparazzi.
I'll go stand next to
Or whatever
her.
they were called.
All right.
Who doesn't love good flash bulbs?
So this is
All right. So,
what do you want to do?
just chatting with the other scientists.
Okay.
They're,
There's people, they're asking you the usual, like, what are you guys doing down there? We know what the official expedition reasoning is, but what's your actual scope? They want to know if there's any scope differing from the official stance on things.
Yeah. No, just exploration. Now, do we have a cartographer on our expedition?
We
Shouldn't
do.
we?
Yes, definitely. Someone has that role. They may not be that 24 hours a day, but someone has that role.
Okay. Yeah, because we need to chart where we may be going into unexplored territory.
Yes, you're making me look it up. Yes, you have a cartographer. I don't know the name off the top of my head, but I do know that there's someone who has that job.
Okay. I just mingle.
Okay. Well, everyone mingles. Evening wears on. Speeches are made. Lots of handshaking. And towards the end of the evening, Mr. Starkweather comes over and says, "Thank you very much for coming, everyone. We've got a problem. You guys are going to have to find your way back to the ship. We don't have enough cars."
Oh.
I'm sorry. It's not that far. Enjoy yourself, wander, have a little bit of a night on the town if you want.
Bloody typical.
What time is it?
It's all about him, isn't it?
Round about 10 or 11.
Are there
There's
any
still some
cabs
hangers
this
on.
minute?
Well, it's there are some hangers on still, but it's not it's not like everybody's hanging. Most people are migrating to the pubs.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Let's go
Exactly.
to the pub. Yeah, I'll head to the pub. I can see Elmer's interested.
A pub in my tuxedo? Come on, people. Standards. Standards.
It's tray chic.
It's only a mile or so. There's warehouses, shipping offices, there's pubs with locally brewed beer, ale, dart games, cards, that kind of stuff.
Careful you don't get any hot wing sauce on your white tie there.
All right. So I spend the evening at the pub. I'm wondering if that Dr. Bruce McGilvey's anywhere around. We see him?
No, he wandered off earlier in the evening. He's an older man. He doesn't stay up too late.
I want to ask, did he say that he was a professor at Melbourne University?
A university in the general vicinity of Melbourne. I'm not entirely sure it was Melbourne University.
Well, the reason I was going to ask some of the other scientists and professors if they knew who he was.
Oh, you can certainly inquire. There's a number of them around.
Yeah, the ones that I've been chatting with. So, do you know this
Yes,
Dr.
Melbourne.
Bruce McGilvey?
Sorry, it is Melbourne University of Melbourne. I just to
Okay.
verify it. It's been around since 1843. So yes.
Okay, so it's a new place. Are you familiar with Dr. Bruce McGilvey?
Oh yes, Dr. McGilvery's. He's a genius.
Oh,
He knows about so many different topics. He could probably teach in every department.
well, perhaps I shouldn't have discounted him so easily.
He has a bit of a flair for the obscure. He's always looking for he likes to challenge the students to find an alternate explanation for everything. For every fact. He wants them to think. And that's it's one of his high points. Not to everyone. Some of the members of the board think he's a little too
Esoteric.
Esoteric would be a good word, yes. Yeah. But he certainly engages the students. He makes them think, makes them not just accept everything that's given to them at face value.
How many more days are we in Melbourne?
This is day 2. You've got three more
days
that you know of.
Maybe I'll pay him a visit. And he's at the University of Melbourne.
Yes.
What date? What day of the week is it? Do you know? Simon was keeping track of all.
We'll take that as a no.
Wait, I can find it.
I have it here. It's the 12th or it's the 15th?
Well, it's the second. It's now the 13th, isn't it?
13th?
I thought it was still the 12th.
I thought it was
still
the 12th.
Yeah, it's still the 12th, which is a Thursday.
Thursday. Okay.
So you could go see him tomorrow.
I could. He might have classes, but we'll find out.
He'll make time.
Maybe I'll audit one of his classes. All right.
So, Elmer, what's everyone doing? This is just for the rest of the evening.
Pub, and then when I get tired, I'll go home.
Okay.
I'm going to get one of the remaining cars and head back to the boat.
There's no cars. This is the problem. You guys are all carless.
It's just about a mile.
Oh, I thought there wasn't enough cars. I didn't know that the cars had been absconded with. Okay.
Well, Mr. Starkweather thought the expedition, your group could probably find your own way back.
Just stick with us for a bit, and then we'll go.
Yes, let's
I think we should go back as a group. Actually, Sean, just a quick question. Did anybody at this little get together bring up the fact or anything about stuff happening on the ship, like the arrest or sabotage, anything like that? Was that brought up at all?
It was not brought up during the speeches, and certainly not by any of the reporters. If you want to talk about it, somebody would have discussed it with you, but certainly it was. I think it was like it's more like a taboo discussion. They weren't actively. They were trying to this is a great thing happening. Look, let's take lots of photos. It wasn't really talking about a bomb or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think Starkweather wanted to keep that under our hats.
What are you doing, Dr. Hawks? Oh, you're all just pubbing and then heading back, I guess, right?
Yeah.
For the boozer.
Let's say going back as a group. Not walk around.
Definitely pubs. I mean, whether they're official or legal or not, there's definitely pubs and there's definitely some drinking and darts, and people are looking at you funny because you're in suits and tuxedos and such. Let's see.
Does anyone speak the language?
Well, what you can get you can get beer, whatever beer is at the pub.
Lager.
Say, mate. 4 pints of Tuies, please, Bruce. 5 pints of Tuies, please, Bruce.
The beer comes. They don't think you're locals. As you might.
Is it Foster's?
Good on your cobber. Good on your cobber.
This beer is actually pretty good.
Just because you're saying it louder doesn't mean they can understand you.
What's the matter? Don't you speak English or what?
Is that your sister? So beer comes. Locals are kind of looking you over. This is a little bit of a rough area because it is near the port. You don't feel particularly comfortable. And as the night wears on, you do feel you should probably head back unless, you're itching for an altercation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nah.
All right. So I'll assume you head back to the ship, and
Yep.
The evening ends. The pemmican plant is chugging along, and this would be day 3. And by the end of the day, everything is going to be in the freezer. All the equipment is arriving that's been ordered. You haven't had any problems with the people you hired, Captain Sugden, because they're desperate for work right now. They're happy to just work their butts off, and a couple cases of beer at the end of the day makes them even happier.
That's good.
That hint was given to you by the equivalent of the shop steward that sort of took it upon himself to become the shop steward.
Okie dokie.
And there's lots of shops, lots of markets, and
the overheads.
Well, Mr. Starkweather doesn't even want to know about it. He just wants the work completed. So by the end of the day, it's all in the freezer, and the next day, the 4th day, you can have it shipped over to the ship.
Excellent.
It's either on the ship or on the way. And the newspapers are everywhere. They're following you more and more. They've sort of stopped listening to the local politicians who told them to leave you alone. So you've always got reporters everywhere you go following you, asking you questions. They're outside the shop. You're quite surprised that they even knew you were making a pemmican in there, but somebody spoke. And day 5 rolls around, and the police have given Mr. Starkweather and Mr. Moore permission to leave. They believe they have enough information, enough evidence that Mr. Henning was, in fact, the saboteur. They don't have any other questions. There's nothing keeping them from saying proceed. But they do ask that if anything else happens, to radio back immediately.
So this is the 17th?
The 5th day. So it's now this would be, so the first 1, 2, 3 days. 3 days.
The 12th arrived, yeah.
12th, 13th, 14th, 15th. So the 15th, which would be the 4th day, the food is completed. The 15th is the next day the food arrives and all of the equipment finally arrives. You've been given permission to leave. And Mr. Starkweather says he's going to leave the next day. He's going to give it one more day. You're going to leave at 3 in the morning.
3 a.m. on the 16th?
On the 17th.
17th. October 17th. 1933. Okay. So we're all asleep when he leaves, huh? When we leave. Huh?
Well, you wake up and the ship is still in port. When you wake up, you see Mr. Starkweather storming around, and you haven't left yet. And there's something is missing. And it isn't a matter of, he says to you, it is 100% my fault. And you've never heard him admit to this before.
Oh, my.
And Charlene is there, and she's sort of patting him on the shoulder like, it's okay, it's all right. So I think she's having a little bit of a better effect on him. And he says, he says it to you guys only because he trusts you. It's my fault because I refused an invoice for something that I shouldn't have refused. So now there's a day's delay. The end of the day. So the evening, we'll be receiving the oxygen cylinders that we looked for. He messed up. So it's not, everything else is ready to go. And he says, look, if there's anything you want to do, you want to go out in the town, just be back here by 8 p.m. this evening. So that's
all right. I don't think there's any reason to go out for me, so I'm just going to stay.
Okay. So does anyone have anything they wish to do? It's now Tuesday.
I'm actually going to run into town for a bit and get a copy of Edgar Allan Poe's the Arthur Gordon Pym story.
All right. There's 3 or 4 bookshops you can check. Do you want to do a... Well,
sure.
Let's just say do a search hidden. You're going to have to look the racks.
All right. I got a 7.
Then you found it on the first... You went to the largest bookshop first, and that happened to be where you found a copy of it.
Yeah, but it's a freaking anthology, and I have to take this whole damn book with me. Oh, my God. This freaking book.
You didn't buy that prop just for this show.
No, I've had this for years.
I'm joking. Nice.
It's the book that causes 2d6 plus a bonus.
I opened right to it. It's Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket is the name of this story.
Mm-hmm.
Nantucket.
Well, you have it. Now you can all read it too over the course of the next month.
I once knew a girl from there.
I once knew a man from Nantucket.
Easy, Tiger. Easy, Tiger.
This is a family show.
No, it's not.
I know it's not. It's not a show.
The Addams Family.
There's a disclaimer at the beginning of the show.
That's right.
All right.
So the day rolls on. If anyone has any, now you wanted to go to the university. It is Tuesday. You could have done this the day before, so I can backtrack if you wish.
All right.
Let's say you can go to the university.
Well,
it crosses your mind that you have time for this.
I look at Mr. McGilvery, and I'm trying to find a point when he's free for a bit. If he's got classes, there's not much I can do.
He doesn't really have classes.
Okay.
He sort of wanders in and out of other people's classes. He teaches the occasional, puts on the occasional talk on a subject or two on behalf of other professors, and he's happy to see people. So he'd be happy to see you.
Okay.
He's got tenure, and he has the word emeritus after his name, probably.
And he does, yes.
When I speak to him, well, first of all, I apologize. I'm like, I've got a good streak of that American Boston arrogance when it comes to education, and I didn't realize who he was when I first met him. We've had to deal with, forgive the phraseology, some crackpots along the way, and without knowing who you were, I easily discounted everything that you said. But I'm actually, in addition to being a scientist, I'm a student of metaphysics at the University of Miskatonic, which is world famous for their metaphysics.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would like to discuss with him certain I am aware of some of the weird things that we might be getting ourselves into, in that I have read some of the books that are available in the library. They're not available. They're rather very highly specialized, you might say. My father studied metaphysics also, and so I have had the opportunity to look in a number of tomes, such as the Necronomicon, though I haven't read the entire thing. I've seen bits and pieces of it, and I'm intrigued because I've heard, at least from the previous expedition, that some of the things mentioned in that tome may in fact have been realized when they were at the South Pole. And I'm not sure I believe it. I find it hard to believe that some Arab in the middle of Syria in the 12th century could possibly know what was in Antarctica at the time. But this is what I sort of talked to him about, how unusual it is, the weird coincidences, and see what his opinions are.
He shuts his door. He
in my face?
No. Once you start talking and you start talking of the more esoteric things, he does shut the door, because not everybody appreciates that kind of,
right,
discussion. He says, well, let's just say, as you probably assumed, I like the odd. I like to look for the odd and the weird in the world. And when I was younger, I traveled. And when I was younger, I explored. And as I got older and that traveling and exploring became more difficult, I just read what others would bring me, what others would tell me. And especially my students, I like to give them that sense of adventure, to have them bring back what they find around the world to be odd or different or obscure. And I don't disagree with your suppositions. And he brings out the stone again. He says, this is the only piece I have that leads me to believe that there is some truth to the rumors that I've heard about Antarctica. And the thing that is odd is this was not found in Antarctica. Although I've heard rumor that similar things have been. And I've seen photographs that imply the same.
Well,
and why would something like this be found underground in a cavern system? But whereas this was found in the West Indies on a hot tropical island.
Yeah, the implications are perhaps somebody carried it to Antarctica. It's often been wondered how the South Sea Islanders got onto the islands. Some of the islands are 1,500 miles from any other island. If they were traveling in the waters, perhaps somebody carried it there, but it's connecting two parts of the world that shouldn't otherwise be connected in any way.
That's what I think. There's all kinds of weird connections across the world that shouldn't be. There are things found in Tibet that match things that exist in the Midwestern United States.
I've heard some of that too. Yes.
I've heard of floating islands in the vicinity of the pole of inaccessibility. That's something I always wanted to explore, but my age, I just can't do that anymore. But would you like to get to take a note of these?
Yes,
markings on it?
Is it possible I could do like a rubbing of the stone? Is it carved into the stone?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Okay. He has. If you don't have materials with you, he certainly has paper and carbon sticks for rubbings.
Yeah. So actually, I sketch it out and I do a rubbing. So can we see this stone? You have a picture of it?
You will.
Okay.
Yes, here it is. Here, I will show you later.
All right. Sorry, people watching.
Well, you can insert it later.
I will. If you want me to, I will. First.
Okay.
All right. So we have our little discussion. I also asked him, given I probably spill way too much to this guy, but I basically, given the evidence of what we've done, who would you suspect would really not want us to go on this expedition? Who would try to sabotage us, and why? You can understand some other rival group that's trying to get there first, but we keep getting evidence that it's not, that they may have been sabotaged too, or the attempt was going to be made to sabotage them. And all I keep coming back to is the original, the survivors from the previous one. I mean, they, in Dr. Dyer's report, he actively discouraged anybody going back there.
Well, he sits back and thinks. He says, I'm a student of logic. And I would say you have to think who would benefit by you not going, or who would have a negative benefit to you going. That would be the directions that I would look. Another expedition, are they going to have monetary gain if you don't make it there? Or would someone else, would they benefit by you going, or by the other group going? You should use logic in this.
Yes.
That's all
It seems to me like the only benefit of going there would be to make discoveries. There's fame. Fame is a strong motivator for a lot of people, especially scientists who want to make discoveries. I can understand that. We are drilling. I mean, for goodness sakes, if we went there and discovered oil, that's monetary. Perhaps somebody already has discovered oil and they want to eliminate the competition. Why would somebody want us not to go there? Because they would be harmed if we went there. I don't see that making any sense at all.
Well, he says, I'm too far away from it. I would say you have to think. It may come to fruition that you find out, or perhaps this Mr. Henning was the only person. The one I read in the newspaper is the only person that was responsible, or someone he's been involved with. But I'd say if he's the person that was trying to affect your demise, or at least stop you from getting there, I think you've got clear sailing from here.
Well, perhaps. I think though that that Henning, even if he was a saboteur, he's not the mastermind. There's no way. He's a mess boy. Somebody had to have coerced him or paid him, a large sum of money to do something like this. But the only person that I could think of would be somebody who didn't want us to go there. And there's definitely somebody who doesn't want us to go there. And whether it's a member of the that Miss Lexington, Acacia Lexington's group, or some other expedition, or a crackpot, somebody who thinks that the world is going to end if we discover something there, that, you know, if we let King Kong, we just recently saw that movie, it's actually quite good. If we let King Kong out of his cage, or, you know, who knows what the crackpot mind thinks.
Some call me a crackpot, he says. He laughs.
Well, I've spoken to you. You're highly intelligent. You're not a crackpot. You're just creative in your thinking, which is good.
Well, that's the way everyone should be. And he says, I'm very sorry. I do actually have a lecture I have to go to.
Yes, and I have to get back.
Yeah, so if you don't mind, thank you very much. Please, when your expedition is over, I'd appreciate receiving some kind of correspondence from you.
If I find any rocks like that there, I will be sure and bring them back for you.
Thank you very much. That would be more than appreciated. And he lets you out the door, and the secretary escorts you to the car that brought you, and or whatever's, unless they call a cab, I suppose. And you're back at the ship. The day moves on. Everything arrives on time. Meals are had. 8 o'clock rolls around, and essentially you are ready to go.
And this is 8 p.m. on the 17th?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So if you don't mind, I will skip ahead a bit here, because it's really a log trip now. A trip's log. 18th arrives. Everything is on board. Everything's been checked and double checked 3 times. So 6 sections. 18th, you proceed out. You are escorted out into the open ocean. 18th is a calm and clear day. Small swell, perfect weather. The 19th, next day, winds up a bit, choppy seas. You've made it out into the open ocean. 252 miles you've made it by the end of the day. The next day, the 20th, wind from the south, 20, 30 degrees. You see this on the wall outside the mess every day. They give you the wind directions and the temperatures. It's actually getting to be very cold, and the seas are rough. Classes are still happening, but they keep getting disturbed by chop and banging of the ships and things falling over. So the 21st, gentle southwest wind. It's smoking blue sky. Noon position, you're about 258 miles offshore. Sorry, that's how much you make that day, 252 miles. 22nd, rough seas again. Deep gray sky. Sun dim and pale. Wind 25 miles an hour. It's getting a little rough. The next day, 23rd, sharp drop in the barometer. Winds up 50 miles an hour. High gusts from the west-southwest. Very heavy seas, water over the rails. The Gabriel has to run with the wind. And all of a sudden, 7 p.m., clear skies. Next day, 24th, cold and clear again. Good progress made. Fog, slightly before midnight. You make another 246 miles. 25th, the fog continues. It's weird and thick. Speed's reduced. They're worried about ice. And at noon, you see your first icebergs by mid-afternoon. Soon after that, barometer drops and more icebergs are seen. Everyone's starting to dig out the sweaters. And a storm is feared. And the sea swell is roughening. And at sunset, the Gabriel turns east at sunset. 26, heavy snow in the early morning, followed by a clear dawn. Noon position, you get another 212 miles, and shortly after noon, the barometer crashes, wind whips up again. And that's when, hold on, I have to go back to something here. Now, there is a noise. And you're in the middle of a class, and you can hear kind of thumping, thump, and then a rumbling noise, and a thump, and another rumbling noise. And you don't know what's going on, and it seems to be coming from below.
Are we hitting icebergs?
No, it seems to be coming from the ship, from inside the ship. And could everyone make a listen roll and tell me who's successful?
I got an 11.
Okay. Any more successes?
Yes, 29, yes.
Not me.
So that's a hard.
Okay. We got 2 then.
Yes, pass.
You hear you hear this terrible crash from somewhere forward when the bow slams downward into a trough between waves.
Something came outside?
It sounds like something from the forward, from one of the holds. And moments later, you hear the crash. And a third time. The first was just like kind of a rolling noise, like something rolling around, smaller. Now, crash.
Oh.
Crash. It's like a heavy piece of cargo has gotten loose and is slamming about in the hold.
Yeah, something slamming around in the hold.
Is that where the plane's kept? In the lower hold?
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Where the fuel is. So there's 3, it shows that there's fuel in 55-gallon drums, and then that's where the plane is kept. So
There's snow
you better hope
trackers.
that plane didn't come untied, because if it's thrashing around down there, it could be damaged beyond repair.
Can we grab some of the crew and go check?
You say that, Gregory. Do you want to make a roll for idea?
Sure.
I imagine. What's his
I
name?
did not make my idea roll.
Okay.
Should the ship come to a full stop before we?
Well, that's
deal with moving cargo.
Well, could
Imagine
you make an
Nigel's
idea
going
roll?
crazy.
Captain
Hmm?
Sugden, you make an idea roll then?
45 out of 55. Yes.
You remember? I was thinking Mr. Copper would remember it first. Gregory would, because he's most recent he's been the most recent boarder of the ship and given the tour recently. But you remember, there's an alarm right there. There's an alarm bell, and you can indicate, you can pull that, and that will cause the ship to stop.
I
Or at least
I
slow.
shall do that very thing.
Okay.
I've always
hit
wanted
the
to do
alarm.
that.
You hit the. It's just like on the bus.
Ooga.
You hit the alarm of the subway.
I'll pull
And,
the chain.
Yeah, the ship. It doesn't stop completely because of the wind to keep from capsizing.
Penalty for
But
use.
people come running and going on, and one of the officers, you explain the noise, and he indicates 6 strong crewmen come assist, and sends you over to the hatches and says, someone's got to get down there and see what's happening.
Well, I'll go down and have a look.
Right. You get to the hatch, and it takes a number of crewmen to lift it. You can't open the large hatch in this kind of weather, because if a wave comes in, you'll capsize the ship.
Yes.
There's ropes hanging in coils by the outside hatches. You can tie. One of the crewmen says, "Lash yourselves together. We can't hold on in this because it's and rolling." And so they know the knots, and you lash yourselves together. They've got a few flashlights. If anyone with them, they can bring them as well. And just released, and it almost blows out of off its hinges, out of the hands of who holds it. And they lock it in place, and here we go. It's pitch black outside, and the air is freezing cold, and you're not dressed for it because you ran out with what you had on from inside. And there's no light except your flashlights, and you look down into the hold, and it's difficult to stand. There's ice on the decks and everything, but hand over hand, you've used the ropes to get to the ropes and the railings to get to the hatch and get down inside. And everyone has to make a successful dexterity roll, though.
Oh, I did
3.
You are dexterous.
He
I'm
is
not.
a climber, this man.
He's a
That
spider
is true.
monkey.
not. I have slipped on the ice.
Dr. Lindenbrook is down. Did everyone
made
else
mine.
make it though?
Froze.
So you two fall, but everyone helps you up again, and you continue down into the hatch. Luckily, you're all tied together. Hand over hand, you found your way into the hatch and down and below. And actually, how badly did you fail, Dr. Lindenbrook?
My dexterity is 50, and I got a 71. So
Could
it's
you
not a
make a-
critical fail.
No, it's not. Oh no, that's good. That's good. And Greg or Dr. Hawks, how badly did you fail?
About the same. My dex is a 55. I rolled a 73.
Okay, so not critical. All right. Okay, then. You are down in the hold, and you can't tell. You're only down the stairs. You're not down inside. There's no way to tell from where you are what the sound is, but because the noise of the storm is just so great. And when you go down in, it's cargo hold number 2 tween deck. There's thumps and tearing rumbles from inside, and you can smell kerosene filling the air. And what you see when you the first person to shine the light on is horrifying. 2 of the great engines belonging to the Boeing aircraft are broken free, and with each pitch and shift of the ship, they roll and bounce around like bowling balls. And the remnants of their crates that they were in are smashed to pieces. And everything in the hold shows scars from the motors. The remaining 2 engines are still.
Yep.
Oh, we're really screwed. How are we gonna secure those things at this point? They're moving. They could roll over on top of you.
Well, the ship needs to come to a complete stop before we can do anything.
But except the storm, the ship is still pitching in.
Right.
They can't come to a complete stop. So one of the ship's the people that are with you, the crewmen, yell up the line, and the word is going to the captain's, to sort of the pilot's office, to tell them what's happening, so they can at least try to straighten the ship, to try to minimize the rolling and pitching of the ship.
Right.
Everything in the hold shows scars. The remaining 2 engines are still secure, like I said. Boxes containing the wings are dimpled and crushed by the engines in several places. The plane has dents and gaping holes in the belly. The pallet of kerosene tins was secured, is smashed and askew. Flammable liquids spread everywhere. Shadows dance in the light of your flashlights, your torches, and the destruction's considerable. If something isn't done quickly, it'll get much worse.
Right. We need to figure out some way of lashing down the engines.
We need ropes.
And it's also a fire
either
hazard because you've got kerosene sloshing around in there too.
Absolutely. If we can't completely secure them, we should at least lash them in such a way that we can minimize their movement.
Mm-hmm.
We have to sort of catch them first and then start securing them, and the more we can secure them, the better it'll be. But the initial catch is going to be hard.
Right.
Well, Nigel's with you right now, and he says, each of those engines weighs 800 pounds.
Right.
It's almost like you would have to lasso them or throw a net over them or somehow stop them, because then you've got one engine, but then the other engine is still going crazy, right? It's like you're in a pinball machine.
Well, you'll have to figure this out, but that is...
Suspense.
Dun, dun, dun.
You cut out again. Why is it just as you say something dramatic?
I said,
freezes.
I said that is where we should leave it because it is now 11 p.m.
I thought that's what you said.
We connected the dots on that one.
Yeah, just assume.
Okay, so our players included Jerry Bryant, Greg Malcolm, Bill Mize, Mick Swan, Jeff Wilkins, and myself with Sean Little as Keeper of the Secrets. Our musical intro, Sleight of Hand, was composed by James Brett and is used with his permission. We have a new patron, Dave Sokolowski, I hope I pronounced that right, who is pledging $1 a month. Thanks, David.
Thanks, David.
Sir.
If you'd like to help us out also, you can visit our Patreon account. Just $1 or $2 a month will help us out a lot. We currently are producing 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production in order to create a richer listener experience. We provide audio-only versions of our show free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We love hearing from you. You will find links to everything I mentioned in the description below. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming group, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.